Hello everybody, here we are today and we are doing a season preview over the Colorado Avalanche. Now before we start, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. That being said, let's get on into it. So the Avalanche were a team that, made the playoffs yet again. They were coming off of a Stanley Cup in 2022 with hopes of trying to repeat as champions in 2023 before ultimately running into some bad luck in the first round against the Seattle Kraken. Now, with that being said, what are some storylines going into this season for the Avs? Well, the first point is, will the Avs be able to reignite some careers? I think that in the offseason they went out and made some signings that were, low risk, and they also made a trade that was kind of interesting in Johansson that really makes you wonder if these guys struggle this year, what's going to be the plan, because they went out and got Jonathan Drouin, they ended up going out and getting Ryan Johansson, and then of course ended up going and signing Tomas Tatar, 2 deals. And what exactly are they getting in those 3 players? With Drouin, he is a guy that's kind of an interesting guy in general, just because of the fact that it wasn't that long ago that he was still viewed as a really young and enticing player, but it seems like the shine's faded a little bit. He was a player that wasn't that long ago had a 20-goal season with the Tampa Bay Lightning, his only 20-plus goal season in his career before being shipped off to Montreal, and things went well there at times, but also things weren't particularly great. Drouin ended up actually only having 10 goals over the past 3 seasons, a shooting percentage of 4.8% on 350 shots in like 136 games, basically meaning that over those 3 seasons he's scoring a goal about 1 every 13 or 14 games. He is a guy that hasn't really been able to consistently stay in the lineup for a good chunk of the year. He hasn't played over 60 games since the 2018-19 season. Now, granted, there were some points that he missed with injuries, and then also he missed some time with anxiety, which, of course, you got to look out for yourself. Make sure that you're all right mentally. But in general, he is a player that you're kind of wondering how things will go at this point in his career, as it seems like it's not going well. That being said, I think a change of scenery could do pretty well for him. And then also, seems like former teammate in Halifax Mooseheads, Nathan MacKinnon, when they play together, are going to be a key part of how this thing goes with him and the team. MacKinnon apparently wanted to bring him in. Now they've done so, and I think with Drouin, it's going to be really fun to see whether or not he gets paired on that top line. I've seen a couple of projections where he is put on that top line with MacKinnon. That obviously would be good for him. He can't really score goals right now. Maybe that improves with having a guy like MacKinnon out there with him. Maybe old chemistry kind of comes back to light, and you will see things turn around for a guy where at this point he could just use anything on the hockey world to go in his direction. I think the good news here is obviously he's going to be with an old teammate, and he is in a spot where he could rebound. He's on a cheap deal, so expectations aren't crazy high. 1 year, $825,000 if I'm not mistaken. So if things go bad, it's not the end of the world. You can move on from him. But if things do go well, he could be part of your short-term future after this season. And if him and MacKinnon get along really well and have good chemistry, if they are able to play together, that could be something that could be key to making this thing just even better. Now with Johansson, it's kind of an interesting thing here too, because he was traded over from Nashville and is a guy that is coming off of a down year, 28 points in 55 games played after previously having 26 goals the season prior. A guy that really hasn't had to have a lot of minutes in Nashville for a minute, but here he is in Colorado, expected to be their second-line center, and a guy that over the 3 of the past 4 seasons hasn't had particularly strong or dominant years. I think this one will be a big make-or-break move for the Avalanche, because of course they wanted some center depth. They ended up getting Johansson. If this doesn't work out, I think he's got some term left on his deal in terms of how many years he's got left, but this is a situation right now where you're really curious to see, can he handle the minutes, and will he be able to handle a change of scenery? The good news is for him, he is going to probably be playing with Artturi Lehkonen and then Valeri Nichushkin on the second line. I would imagine things would go pretty well for him there if he played on the second line with them, and maybe, just maybe, we could be looking at a really good year from him. Again, I don't know. This is one of those things where you really could use a guy like him to fill in nicely down the middle. And then finally, we've got Tomas Tatar. I don't really think this is a reignition of sorts. He's almost coming off of a 50-point season, had 48 points last year. Doesn't historically need a lot of minutes to be productive for you. and is a guy that has been traded around before, so he knows the ropes. He knows what it's like to be on multiple teams and work within multiple locker rooms. I will say with Tatar, again, another low-cost signing that could end up working out for them. 1 year, $1.5 million, not a bad deal for them. He probably won't exactly be a guy that you would say is going to be on the top line for huge chunks of the year. In fact, he's probably going to be middle six, third line guy. But that being said, again, a guy that is experienced, that could help you out on the cheap, and you're looking at 3 guys that'll be part of their top 9 for a little over $6 million, if I'm not mistaken. Not a bad thing for the Avalanche to have if things go well here. Drouin, if he ends up playing on the top line, I imagine things would go well, that he'd rack up assists, and Tatar probably will be okay. Johansson, still kind of curious to see how that one will go. The second talking point is about Valeri Nichushkin. Now, Nichushkin was a key player for the Avalanche over the past few years and has been more of a household name in the past 2 seasons, especially because things have gone so well for him. Guy that you would expect to be part of a cup chase, and he ended up missing the first round, or a good chunk of the first round last year, after a really weird situation where an intoxicated woman was found in his room, if I'm not mistaken. Not exactly sure what ended up going on there. Details are a little murky, but you are looking at a situation nonetheless that is very perplexing, and you are wondering if he's going to be okay in terms of playing. Now, he was cleared by the NHL, which is very interesting to me because this seems like a very weird situation, and I'm not going to comment on it because, again, it is very murky, but in my opinion, it just seems weird. So if the NHL in today's age that is so focused on A, doing the right thing, and B, protecting your image, is going to let him play, you have to think that there's something more to this that maybe we don't know about as fans. Now, if there is more to this in the terms that Nichushkin ends up missing games, you're looking at a guy that would probably average a point per game for you this year, close to a point per game, that isn't on your second line. You'd have to shuffle lines. How would Johansson do down the middle? How would other things get moved around? Jared Bednar would have to worry about that. That is something that would be a big talking point for this team. But obviously, of course, if something did go down, you wouldn't want him to get off scot-free or anything like that. If he's innocent or whatever the case is, again, you would want to see him get to play. I just think that obviously, with him being out here, you're leaning towards he's probably going to play this year, and things could be good in that sense, but his absence would definitely be felt if he was gone, and potentially forever. Not something that the Avalanche would like to think about, but something that they probably all have had conversations about in the, the higher-ups, talking about what this could be. So just watch out for it. The third thing is, can Bowen Byram take a step forward? Byram is a guy that was taken 4th overall in the 2019 draft and is 15th all-time for points from his draft class. Now, 13 out of those 14 guys have played more games than him, the exception being Matias Maccelli, a guy that ended up having a Calder-type season, or Calder contention-type season. So there's that. Now, you're looking at him, and he is coming off of a year where he was pretty impressive. He was almost on pace for a 20-goal season, ended up signing a 2-year extension, if I'm not mistaken, that was relatively cheap, and is also seen his minutes rise in each of his 3 seasons that he's been able to play in the league, getting almost 22 minutes a night last year. So all these things kind of seem to be leaning towards, yes, he will be able to continue to grow. This is really good and something that you're excited about because, again, with the Avalanche being a cup contending team, they've lost a lot of pieces, whether that be free agency, whether that be trades, whatever the case is. It's something that happens in the NHL because the cap is the cap, and if it was bigger, maybe it wouldn't be as big of an issue. But with the Avs losing guys, they need guys to step up and fill in. A former 4th overall pick would be a great guy to come in and kind of help cover the load a little bit, to bear the load, and it is something that I'm really looking forward to this season, as we are looking at him maybe having a 50-point season or better. I will say he did miss the net a lot with the shots that he did attempt, hitting just about 46% of the time for total shots attempted. Maybe you want to clean that up a little bit, but if you're looking at a guy that's scoring 20 goals and putting maybe a 50 or 60-point season up, where he hasn't even played 100 games, that is great news for them. I'm really excited to see what he's able to do here in this season, as he's going to be getting a lot of games and very well could be a key part of this team getting to where they want to go. So overall, the Avalanche are unfortunately still dealing with the loss of Gabriel Landeskog, as he is set to miss the entirety of this season as well, and they're paying a lot of money to McKinnon, which makes things harder in the NHL, trying to keep your team competitive. They also have taken kind of gambles where they brought in some of these guys that could be playing big minutes for them, and they're hoping they pay off. That being said, it seems like a lot of gloom. I think I'm a little optimistic. They still have a lot of star power. They still have a lot of talent. They still have guys that can elevate other people, which is why I kind of think that, okay, if they are in a spot like this, where some of these guys are going to play these big minutes for them, they're going to get to play with guys that are really, really good in contention for personal hardware, and we could see them, elevate their teammates, which is something that is really good. Will they make the playoffs? Absolutely not a shadow of a doubt in my mind that they will make the postseason. Will they win the Stanley Cup? I'm a little bit more shy on that pick right now. I know they are one of the favorites to win the Stanley Cup. I do want to see how this thing goes for them because, again, having guys like Drouin, having guys like Johansson to play big minutes for you potentially, I just need to see how that'll go. But yeah, they should make the playoffs. They were crazy hot last year when they finally started to get healthy. And they are going to be in a good spot this year to probably win their division or be in contention for it. But anyway, what are your thoughts for the Avalanche going into this season? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Everybody stay safe. Have a great night. And you go love hockey, all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.